We have breaking news. The Monroe County native accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students has accepted a plea deal.
Wow, so this Bryan Kohberger has pled guilty today. This is just coming out a couple hours ago. It's about 7:48 my time here, Central Time, US, on June 30th. And it's like this plea came down a couple hours or so ago. All right, so we got to look at this guy. He's really a nutcase. But what we're going to kind of key in here on is the kind of guy who devolved into someone who felt the desire and the need to go into a sorority house and murder co-eds, and just the mental kind of de-evolution that he probably went through that got there because of his mind frame and his mind state due to him living in this society where he clearly wasn't getting much play from women, and how but the issue that isn't the issue is how he dealt with it and internalized it in his mental mind frame. 'Cause on this channel we talk about men's mind state, so we're going to get into that. Let's listen to a little bit more of the news report.
Newswatch 16 Stacy Lang is with us to explain. Stacy, what can you tell us at this hour?
Yeah, Scott, this news breaking just minutes before the beginning of this newscast. So this is the information we have so far. Bryan Kohberger, the Monroe County native, who's accused of stabbing and killing 4 University of Idaho students to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho, back in 2022. You probably have heard much about this case so far.
So here are the 4 college 20 somethings, 20 to 22-year-olds that he murdered. I believe they were all juniors and seniors, the 4 that aren't blurred out, or the 4 that were murdered in the house overnight that he is now confessing to. So let's see if they tell us more about the nature of the confession as we remember the 4 people who this case is surrounding here.
ABC News has confirmed that information through a letter that was sent to the families of all 4 of those victims. That letter says that Bryan Kohberger will plead guilty to all of the charges against him.
So they go on to say that he is going to accept the sentence for 4 counts of murder, taking the death penalty off the table, but he will serve 4 consecutive life sentences. So he's going to prison for life. There's the house that they stayed in. I believe it was exactly a sorority house, with most of the women who lived there were in the same sorority. And so I believe the house was torn down, if I recall, within a year after this happened. So I don't believe it's standing anymore, but I could be wrong. I remember from the story at the time is he parked somewhere on the street up here and came down the hill. There's like a back porch. They have a deck in the back, or had a deck in the back, and I believe he was believed to have entered through that some kind of way. Not recalling all of the details of the story. One of the real things about the story was that the fact that one of the girls woke up, one of the ones who survived woke up during the night, heard noises, even saw a man leaving the house, went back to bed, got up the next day, didn't go check on the people upstairs, and didn't say anything to anybody till like middle of the afternoon. That part still there's no the reasonable explanation for that. But anyhow, he's admitted to it, so we know that it was indeed him. They had his DNA. It was open and shut case anyway, but I guess he was trying to find a way to finagle his way out of it. He finally got to a point where he realized the evidence is against me. There's no chance I'm caught, so let me go ahead and plead. So, how do we as men of purpose take lessons from this situation? And this will be lessons mostly for younger men, but it can be some guys even into their 30s who could really uh, hear and understand from this. So you would say, there's some guys who are kind of rejected men, and when they become rejected men, they retreat from society and they may devolve psychologically, and we can understand from Brian Koberger's past that he really didn't have much of a dating history. High school friends who came out basically talked about how he had girls who were friends, but he really didn't have girlfriends, right? He was the friend to girls, but he didn't really have chicks like that. And also there was some other things about some kind of psychological problems that he'd had. So he had this neurological condition during a teenager called visual snow, visual snow syndrome. And we'll just go down here. I think it talks about it a little bit. Looking like static, like that on a TV. Most people experiencing it continuously see tiny snowflakes in their vision, and if in the world in front of them, it seems like a badly tuned TV. They say that static vision it remains even when your eyes are closed, and it can be debilitating to some, affecting their capacity to work and complete school. Then it looks like he ended up doing heroin, I think in his early 20s, very late teens, early 20s to cope. And then he ended up, I guess, going to rehab and kicking that habit, then got into education and became, uh, got a master's degree in sociology or something of that nature, and went on uh, to pursue a doctorate therein. So this is the God that we're dealing with. And you say, well, yeah, that's not me, even though I may have struggles with women or in society or with being able to fit in and be socialized well. May not get a lot of women or whatever, but I'm not a nutcase. And obviously, this guy goes beyond the pale. He has major sociological issues. He is a sociopath. Obviously, he even talks about in some of those same postings where he talked about his visual snow on online forums, and he was a teenager. He talked about being and not having any feelings or emotions and being disassociated from any having any feelings, so he could do anything without remorse. But even though this is the most extreme case, an extreme version, a lot of men do fall into that kind of self isolation and go on to just living in a world of porn and a world of uh, black pill, rage pill content. Uh, become become the true incels, that what these misandrists online, these feminist women try to claim that all men are that. If you listen to them, all men are Bryan Kohberger, when in reality he's one in 10 million. If and that's probably being liberal, right? These guys are few and far in between, and even some of these other kind of guys that we're talking about who don't devolve to that degree or don't have that level of psychosis, uh, most of them are harmless and don't bother anybody. What they mostly do is they retreat to themselves. And so the point I want to make and get you guys to think about is, if you're kind of having those kind of struggles, is that you should not be basing your life and your self-esteem, your manhood on how women in this society relate to you, right? You should not be you should not have this feeling that you are if women aren't, especially attractive women that you want, aren't responding to you the way that you want, that you should then be going into a hole, going into a black hole, and kind of living in despair because uh, women aren't accepting you, right? What you should be doing is discovering and determining what your purpose is as a man so that you can move forward with developing yourself in all aspects of your manhood, from your physical, your mental, your financial, and coming up with basically in determining who you want to be as a man. I would say spiritual is actually the most important, but that's a bigger sell for me to put forward on that. But some of the more just practical things that you could be focusing on is coming up with the life philosophy of who you want to be as a man. You develop your world and you develop a sense of excellence, not spend all your time. If you have fun playing video games as an outlet, but not spending all your time devolving into a world of fantasy and make believe and play, but rather developing yourself as a man and developing your own world, then you will find that women will come to you and the world will begin to come to you, rather than you trying to fit the world and being in despair that you don't fit and that you're not accepted and that you're not this and you're not that. Instead of going into despair about what you're not, you should be focused on becoming what you are, what you want to be, and who you should be. And that starts with focusing in on making a decision about what your philosophy is as to who you want to be as a man, and then focusing on developing yourself into that man, which means determining your purpose and then focusing on uh, effectuating that purpose and going out and achieving that. So let's get a little bit more on Kohberger's background and kind of see some more of the things that he was involved in, what he was going through, so that if you see yourself kind of going in this pattern, that your resolve isn't to then withdraw from society and go into a hole because women don't like you, as if they are the end all be all of this world, as if you should be following women and what they say and what they put forward about you should not be the determination of who you are. You should be determining for yourself as a man who you're going to be, and then you will find that you will be able to attract women. Doesn't mean that necessarily that you're going to go from a zero, then you're going to be the super Chad. But that shouldn't even be your goal. Your goal is should be able to just plant your feet on the ground in life and in society, and then you can see that you will guide and direct and pull women into your program because you actually have a program that can that you can attract women to, and that you have something there that you can offer to say that uh, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is the direction I'm going. You get on the ship and you can ride with me to the shore, or you can get off and you're not studying it when women aren't responding to you because your world isn't focused on them, and it shouldn't be as a man. Your focus should be God and then your purpose, and then the right women will come along who get the program. And if they don't get it, they're not the ones you need anyway. And the sex and everything else will come along with that if you first can establish yourself. And that's where your focus should be. Let's get a little bit of this other bit.
Bryan Kohberger was a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University.
Investigators made multiple inquiries about Kohberger and gathered some additional background information.
He was also a TA known for being an incredibly punitive grader. Everyone kind of hated him, especially the women.
Yes, so it seems that one of the things that Kohberger did was to use a position of power that he was able to gain by becoming a doctoral student and becoming a teaching assistant, where he would grade the papers of the undergrad women, that he would use that opportunity to go harder against women. To what we do here is we are analyzing society. We roast these women a little bit. We're gonna have some fun with it and whatnot. It's deserving because they're always trying to roast men. They're trying to roast average men. So when we have things to point out about how ridiculous they are, we're gonna roast and have some laughs. But what a lot of guys will do is they allow the rejection that they've experienced to become a festering anger, and then they allow that to control their personality and how they show up in the world. And that's again goes to what I was saying before. You should not be allowing your emotions and your focus in life to be controlled by women. You should not be reactionary. Your direction in life should not be a reaction to what you are or aren't getting from the women that you think you should get. Right? You should be determining your path and then following your purpose, not having your emotions directed. People say this is one thing that I think is really weak that I hear a lot of people say. If somebody tells me I can't do it, that's what's going to make me. If somebody tells me I can't do it, then I'm going to do it. So you determine you're just like a little puppet. I can control you. I can easily manipulate you. It's kind of like Marty in Back to the Future. If you call him a chicken, then he would go all outside of his life. He would turn his life upside down to try to prove somebody wrong. So your emotions are easily manipulated and controlled by other people's feelings and opinions. That's weak. It's not a badge of honor for you to say that if you tell me I can't do it, then I'm going to do it. I'm doing I'm doing in my life what I want to do with my life. I'm not concerned about what you say. I don't care about what I'm not going to go do something I don't care about doing this because you said I couldn't. I don't care about what you say. That's the way it should.
I don't think that Kohberger really had any friends. In high school, he was very overweight. He was bullied. He was remembered as being very creepy toward girls. One thing that Bryan Kohberger had done when he was a teenager. He had posted regularly on this forum for visual snow syndrome.
So yeah, we talked about that visual snow. This is a report that's coming from the CW network. To give them credit on that piece right there. And you heard they said that he didn't have a lot of friends. He was overweight. That was another thing. I forgot about that part. He was overweight. The way he looks now, that's something that happened in his 20s. I think that happened after rehab, that he slimmed down and got fit, which was good, but that he didn't take that to then develop a life purpose. He still took it as an opportunity. Then I guess he thought that girls should just easily flock to him. And I don't think he had developed the social skills and the interaction skills. And then, of course, we know how modern women are today. They're very, uh, you know, they're very derivative and very minimal in their assessment of men. So if it didn't come easy to him because you wasn't one of those top 10, top 15% guys, then I think he probably thinking me having gotten fit, it should be happening for me now. Now that it's still not happening for me, instead of him moving on to, again, keep developing his purpose and having his own program and knowing that the women that he needs are going to come along as that happens. It may take time. It only may be hit and miss. You're not going to get the sexiest and the hottest girls, but we can see he went after very young co-eds. I think he was about 27 at the time this happened, and he was a doctoral student by this point. Had been through undergrad and grad school. And these girls were 20, 21 that he was going after that I showed in that picture. These chicks fit a certain level of attractiveness, a certain attractiveness type for certain men, right? Definitely being slim, being young and fit, and these young blondes, and they would have captured his desire, right? And apparently he had followed one of them on Facebook and maybe DM'd her, but she never responded. But he was trying. He was clearly interested in them, and I think we heard in the report. I'm not sure if that part played in what I recorded, that he was caught around their house in the weeks before the murder 23 times at night. So he was clearly stalking one or more of these particular girls because these were the ones he couldn't get that he always desired. And a lot of men, I think, can relate to that. That you've come up since you were a kid. Maybe you couldn't ever get the top girls, but you always had great attraction for them. And he felt like maybe now he was closer. He gotten off the drugs. He got through some of his visual snow issues. He got fit. He lost the weight, all that kind of stuff. And they were still out of reach for him. He couldn't be successful enough or attractive enough to get them. So then his mind frame focused on stalking and getting what he want by any means, rather than again developing himself as a person to be who he wants to be, and then attract the women that he can attract on his level, and be happy that he can get women, that he can finally get women. But he couldn't just accept any women. Now he's focused on this kind of Madonna whore thing that he just has to go after, and that's a disaster for him. So we're going to take those lessons forward. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be out of here on this one. Hibachi 2007, Men's Mind State Cultural Reviews. Peace.